What was Fairbury like back when you were a kid?
Back when I was a kid, it was active. There was a lot of things to do for the kids back then. I remember in high school we had a real active youth center, which would bring in 150 kids a night. We had a roller skating rink.
Where was that at?
Up above the C&O Ford.
Really?
There was a roller skating rink. We had two theaters in town, the Bonham Theater, which is still there, and then over on the other end of the same block, where the Joe Shalene Law Office is now, there was another full theater called the Woods Theater.
Okay.
And so there was a lot to do.
About what year was this?
Well, 62 to 65.
Okay, and what was the town like in general back then?
Busy.
What was it busy
We
with?
had, well, the downtown was a lot more busy. We had an open night, Thursday night, and I recall having a hard time finding a place to park. There was a lot of foot traffic. Every store was open. If it wasn't open, it was because they had a sickness in the family or some other emergency.
Any stores back then you remember that aren't around?
Well, the busy part was the Hestage store. It was a real five and dime store. It was up there where, well, we used to be Stagecoach. Now it's something old, something new.
Yeah.
Had a full fountain bar in there for, they served sandwiches and soda pops and malts and ice cream. Then we had the J.M. McDonald store downtown, which is right south of there. We had 4 drugstores.
Did you have 2 newspapers back then?
Yes, we did. And they combined. One was the Daily News and one was the Fairbury Journal. Now it's the Fairbury Journal News.
Okay.
One was located on the west side of the square, and the other one was located up at the southeast corner of 6th and E.
Okay. So, before you were on the police force, did you have any other jobs before that?
Well, just before I went on the police force, I spent 4 years in the Navy. But before that, and this is where I met your father, I worked at the radio station for 4 years.
What'd you do there?
I was a disc jockey, and at the time I resigned to go in the Navy, I was program director.
So when did you go into law enforcement?
I went into law enforcement. Actually, my first job in law enforcement was Beatrice Police Department. January of '70,
Okay.
when I started over there.
And do you know about when you came back over here?
I spent about 6 months over there, and there was 2 openings came open over here. And being a hometown boy, I thought I would have an easier chance of recognizing people from my hometown than from Beatrice. So I resigned over there and applied over here.
So here's a big question. What was the police department back like in those days?
What was it like?
Right.
Well,
And the police office itself was in a different building.
the police office when I started was where the city council room is now. And there was actually 2 buildings there. Where the city council room is was one building. That was the police department, and then there was probably a 20-foot open area between that building and the city offices.
Okay. And you just recently retired, so what was the difference between now and then as far as how crime has evolved over the years?
Well, it's changed. More crime now is centered around identity theft, drugs,
Was drugs a big deal back then?
Not really. All once in a while you heard about someone experimenting with marijuana, but back in early 70s we didn't have near the volume of drug trafficking and drug use as they do today.
Okay, so it's mainly traffic violations and...
Oh yeah, it was, well, we had burglaries, break-ins, a lot of it was local talent. As the years went by, more and more people from out of town moved into the small areas, and some of the arrests that we made for the burglaries were people that we didn't even know of.
Is there anything Fairbury's really lost that you could just think of as that?
A lot of people.
Okay.
We had a junior college here back then that had over 300 students. We had the Rock Island Depot operating, and this was one of the main changeover points where they switched crews out. And we had probably 200 families, 250 families that supported the Rock Island. We had the Fairbury Creamery going, which was where Fairbury Foods is now.
So was that a major turning point in Fairbury's evolution?
Well, yeah, it was the down point because the Rock Island Railroad went belly under. They closed down. The college back then was known as the Fairbury Junior College, and it was locally owned at that time by board of directors and people in and around Jefferson County. Well, we had the brickyard going, Endicott Brick and Tile. That was one of the biggest employers in the county, which they still are, I would think. There were two hospitals in Fairbury. The Lynch Clinic, which also had a hospital, was at the southwest corner of 5th and G Street, which is now Blue Valley Community Action. That was the Lynch Clinic. And then we had the Fairbury Clinic, which was up above the First National Bank building, and it entered off of E Street just about where the entrance to the Berkeley Center is. And there's a real steep stairway that went up, and there was office space up there for 2 or 3 doctors, and then they had hospital rooms up there.
I wonder if it's still there.
I don't know. I don't know what's up there yet.
Okay. What are you doing nowadays?
I'm retired. My wife and I have a advertising agency, and we keep busy seeing family, friends, and grandkids. My business? Mid-Continent Advertising.
What is it?
Well, we do advertising specialties. We do we have outlets to get the pens, the pencils, anything that the business wants to give out as a complimentary item to their customers, such as calendars. We do a lot of calendars for various people, pens, koozies, shirts, hats. If you can put your name on it, we can probably find it.
And how can they contact you?
I'm in the phone book under Frank Jordan, and we try to keep busy.
Okay. Well, thanks, Frank.
Well, thank you very much.
SoundOffFairbury.com